right? The executive of the power of the union shall extend to the matters with respect to which Parliament has power to make laws. So the executive power of the union extends to the subjects on which Parliament may make laws. If Parliament, right, may make laws on communications, right, if Parliament may make laws on wireless communications, the executive power also extends to that. If Parliament may make laws on telecommunications, their executive power extends to that. Let us look at the ban on pornography. The ban on pornography has not taken place by virtue of legislation. There is no need for legislation. By an executive act, the Department of Telecom has instructed all internet service providers to ban pornography in India. Okay, now that is a exercise of the executive power. Where do they find that power from? They find that power from the 7th schedule, list 1, union list. Okay, see, the 7th schedule, which I've briefly alluded to in unit 2, contains 3 lists, and these lists essentially delineate the subjects on which Parliament may legislate, the subjects on which the state assemblies may legislate, and concurrent subjects where both Parliament and state assemblies may legislate. So the executive power of the union extends to matters to which Parliament has the power to make laws, okay, basically, right? So Parliament has power to make laws on subjects both in the union list and the concurrent list. Telecommunications comes in the union list. The ban of pornography has been carried out by the Department of Telecommunications by issuing directions to internet service providers. That is an executive act. That is an exercise of the executive power, basically, right? Why is it so? Because you can't have, right, the executive having to pass laws every time they have to carry out an executive act. So we say you can carry out an executive act on subjects on which you can pass laws. If you don't want to pass a law, it's fine, you carry out an executive act. But after a certain extent, the Supreme Court will intervene and say, no, right, you know what, this is an executive act that is sort of exceeding, you're exceeding your bounds or limits by this executive act. There is a need for comprehensive legislation. This is exactly what happened in the case in Kerala, right? Now, that case has also reached the Supreme Court. The Kerala bar owners are fighting the prohibition ban by the Chief Minister of Kerala. There it was an executive act. Okay, so they approached the High Court, right? The ruling seems to be now, what the ruling is mostly likely going to be is that to have prohibition, maybe there's a need for legislation now, and you cannot simply institute an executive order, basically, right? So there are certain executive acts, right, though, right, the executive acts, right, the courts will intervene and say, no, what, you know what, this is an executive act, yes, but you need legislation to carry out this executive act. But as a general rule, executive power of the union extends to matters to which they have respect to make laws. FDI and retail is another great example of the exercise of the executive power. By an executive order, right, India allowed FDI, basically, right, India allowed FDI, right, and they said the states, right, India allowed FDI in certain sectors, basically, right. Now, they'll say, okay, the states have the option. The states have the option of, you know, whether they want to take up this FDI option or not, basically, right? So there the executive power is concurrently exercised by both the union and the state, basically. Okay, so just remember the ban on pornography, very simple, right? Remember that, and you will sort of, this exercise of the executive function becomes very clear.